In this video, I'm going to show you how to create this amazing map animation in DaVinci Resolve. Now, this video has been inspired by a channel on YouTube. It's called Maypal. I don't know how to pronounce it, but this guy does amazing motion graphics based videos for After Effects. And I decided to break down this particular one because I really like this one. And I think this is going to be very beneficial for all those people who are looking to create amazing map based animations for their documentaries, for their videos, whatever the case is. But this is going to really benefit you because not only will this teach you about 3D editing, but also how you can achieve very amazing looking map animations with very few things. That right now this might look complex, but it's literally one composition right here, as you can see, like one fusion composition. That's it. That's all that it takes. But the duration I have for this one is 10 seconds. Of course, you can increase it, you can decrease it, but the main thing is the concept that I'm going to show you how to achieve in this video. So let's get started. Now over here, I already have the timeline created, and for this one, I'm going with the settings. Let me just show you. So I'm going with 24 frames per second, and I have this at 1920 by 1080. So you can go ahead and do the same thing, have the same settings for your video as well. And then what we need to do is drag in this fusion composition. So let's go ahead, drag in our fusion composition, right click, and then you can just change the clip duration to 10. So right here, we can just go with 10, and let's go ahead in the fusion page. Now I have these assets and you can find them from the link in the description. They are free to download. Now over here, we're going to drag in this map image. Now, of course, you can use any other map that you want, but this is the one that I'm going with. And let me just show you. This is the one that I'm going with. So while you have this selected, click on this image plane 3D and then also this merge 3D. Now, while you have this merge 3D selected, press Control Space and search for renderer 3D. And finally, you can connect this with the media out. But right now, we're not going to use this one. Click on the merge 3D one and press 1 on the keyboard. So right now we're going to work on this panel. And you can see that this is, okay, this is in a, you can say this is a standing up position. I don't know how to say it, but it's kind of up right there on the screen. But we need to, set the base. We need to use this as the base. So how do we do that? Go over to the image plane 3D and in the transform, just go ahead and change the X rotation to 90. Like this. Now you might have noticed that this is gone from that preview, but don't worry about it because we're going to use camera movement in order to animate the scene. So don't worry about it. Just focus right here on this panel. So let me just increase this. So right here we have this panel, and what we need to do is actually you can set right now, as you will see that this is okay in the opposite direction. The map is in the opposite direction. So what we can do is if we just add a minus right here, minus 90, now we can see that, okay, this is in the straight position now. All right, so once we have this set, this base is set, the map is basically set. The next thing we need to do is add in our boat. So we're going to use this boat image, and we can add in this image plane 3D and connect this with the merge 3D. So right here we can see we have the boat, but let's go over to transform and reduce the size for this. So I'm going to go with 0.2 for now. Let's go with 0.2. And you can use this Y to move this up. Actually, this is hidden now because this is scale has been changed to 0. So let's change this to 0.2. And now we can use this Y to move this up so that this is on the screen. We can use this Z to move this here and this X to move this right here. So we're going to use this island as the first point, and we're going to move to this island. This is Africa, by the way. So we're going to move from here to here, and we're going to move the ship from here to here. Pretty basic, right? So but looks very good. So what we can do is right here we have this ship. This is going to start from here, but let's just reduce this even further. So I'm going to go with 0.1 actually, and now we can just view this. By the way, the controls that I'm doing with this is you just press shift on the keyboard and right click on the mouse to move around. That's it. And by the way, you will notice that this is not even on the plane that we have, so you can use this Y to position it. Of course, you can right click on the perspective and also select this left or right, but you won't see anything because literally we have this image. We don't even have any depth to it. This is 2D and we're trying to make 3D out of it, so it won't work. So make sure you just use this perspective and use the control that I'm showing you. Shift on the keyboard and right click on the mouse. That's it. That's all you need. So now you just see this right here, and now you use this Y right here to move this down. That's it. So now we can just see this while we zoom in. But okay, this looks good. Make sure that this is right there on the map. All right, so we have this done. The next thing is to position this right here. And now while you have this image plane 3D selected, press Ctrl space and search for duplicate. So duplicate 3D, make sure to add the 3D one. And from here, let's create 3 copies. So just change this to 3. And then you can use this Z offset to add some more copies. And you can also change the X offset to have a different base for it, different base for the ships. We don't need to move them in a straight line because in real life there's kind of a variation. So we need to show that we have at least 3 boats floating. So we need to show it in a way that can be achieved by the offset. And one more thing is, if you go over to the jitter, you will be able to change this X right here. So if you change the X, you will be able to change the position for these boats. So this is what I'm going with now. And by the way, let me go back to the image plane 3D, the main one. Move this right here and then move this right here. So they're going to start from this island. And then right here, we need to just make sure that all of these 3 are visible when you view it in this way, because we're going to make some animation in that way. The camera movement is going to also move in this way. So we need to show that we have at least 3 different boats. So right here, when you have this done, go over to 0, create a keyframe at X, because we're going to use this to move, and then go all the way to the end and then just move them right here. But we're also going to add some more interesting adjustments. So right here in the duplicate, let's go over at 0, and right here, as you will see that the X, we can change it. We can also go over to the controls and we can change the X offset from here. But let's go over to jitter, and from here go over at 0, create a keyframe at X, and then go all the way to, let's say, 100. Let's change the pace for these boats and go all the way to, let's say, the end, and then just bring them back, something like this. So if you play this, here you can see we have these boats going from one place to the other. Looks amazing. So once we have this done, the next thing we need to do is add in some clouds. Let's add in our cloud image and connect this with the image plane 3D. And again, we're going to do the same thing with the duplicate, add in a duplicate, and then connect this with the merge 3D. So right here we have our clouds, but let's go over to the image plane 3D and reduce the size to 0. Let's say 2 or 3, something like this. Then move this up right here, move this right here, and then in the duplicate we can create maybe 5 different copies using the X offset. You can change this using the Y offset, sorry, the Z offset. You can change the position for them, something like this. But then in the jitter, you can do the same thing we did for X, and then do the same thing for maybe Y or Z. Only do this for X, by the way, don't overdo it. Then in the controls, again, I'm going to just bring them back a little bit. So kind of looks like this. All right, so we also need some movement for these clouds as well. So what we can do is we can go over to 0, and from here we can create a keyframe at the X offset, go all the way to the end, change some positions right here, and then let's go over to jitter, and from here at 0 we can create a keyframe at X, and right here we can just move them like this. So something like this, something that shows the movement of clouds basically. So this looks good, I think. Yeah, this looks good. Of course you can bring them down if you want to. Make sure this media image plane 3D is selected, and then you can just bring them down if you want to, but I think this is a good position. All right, now one final thing that we need to do is add in a line that will move from here to here. So for that we can just simply add in a shape 3D, and let's just go ahead and connect this with the merge for now. And while we have this selected, unselect the lock width and height. Let's go ahead and decrease the height first of all to maybe something like this, and also the width a little bit, and let's move this up. So this is the kind of line that you will get. By the way, you won't be able to see it because of the clouds, but here it is. Here it is. So the next thing that we need to do is we need to bend this line. We need to show it that, okay, this is moving from here to here, but it's kind of in a curved format. So in order to get a curved line in 3D, you need to add in a node called bender. So while you have this shape 3D selected, press Control space and search for bender 3D. And from here, we're going to change the amount to minus 0.4, and the center, we're going to change this to 0.5 or something. And then go over to X, and that's it. So here you will notice that we have that curve, but we need some adjustment right now. So don't change the center too much. Let's just keep this at 0.5. And the amount is basically what we need. So not just the amount, but also if you go over to the shape, now you can change the width as well. So we can now adjust it according to how we want it to be. So right now I want this to start from here and end somewhere around here, so we can just move this. But now you will notice that we get this sort of a line that's going outside the screen, and we don't want this. So we can just reduce this, and also in the bender we can change the amount as well. All right, so in the shape we're going to make some changes to the width. Move this up. Go over to bender again, change the amount. Well, this is kind of a manual process, and I'm now quickly just going to do this, but you just have to use the amount from here, and then in the shape you can just use the width to adjust this so that it fits the map. This area to that area, that's it. We just need to fit it in that way. So let me just quickly do this now. Alright, so this is how it looks like. And now what we're going to do is just reduce the height even further. So I'm going to go with 0.02. And now you can see, okay, this starts from this position right here. Sorry, this position right here, and then ends up at this position. So just to show like a movement, a direction, and then go over to material. And from here, we can just change the line color to, let's say, yellow. And you will notice that it's not smooth, it is still rough. So for that you can go back to the controls, and from here you can just change the subdivision width all the way to 40, and there's no need to change the height because we're just working with the width right now. So this is how it will look like. Awesome. So make sure you have something like this. Of course, feel free to experiment, but this will add a very good look for your design, for your animation. And now we can just start the animation for this line as well. So we can go over at, okay, so for the animation, this is going to be a little tricky, but don't worry about it because we will just add another renderer node after the bender 3D. So press Control space, add in a renderer 3D. Make sure that this is connected to renderer 3D. And then the renderer 3D, we need to connect this with a image plane 3D again. So this renderer 3D right here that we have, we're going to use this to mask. So let me just show you what I mean. So first of all, let's just connect this image plane 3D to the merge. And from here, you will notice that, okay, where did the line go? Well, it's right here, but it's smaller now. So we can go back to the image plane 3D, and in the transform, we can just increase the size. But of course, we need to change the direction as well now. So let's just move this right here. Okay, a slight change in the direction, but that's okay. So this is just a manual adjustment that you need to do on your own. But I think this works for me right now. Okay, so once you have this done, go ahead and drag in a mask node, this rectangle mask, connect this with the renderer. And from here, you will notice, okay, in this panel, this appears, but right now nothing happens right here. So for that, you need to adjust the rectangle so that it covers the whole rectangle. So right here, you will notice this is affecting the line now. So what we need to do is we just need to use this X right here. That's it. That's all that we need. So right here, we're going to go all the way to the end. Actually, let's go over at 150. Yeah, let's go over at 150, create a keyframe at center so that this is visible. Then go over all the way to 0. And from here, you can just change this to maybe 0.03 or something. So just so that it's not visible anymore. And if you play this now, of course, go over to playback and then change the timeline resolution to quarter. This will help a lot if you're working with 3D. So if you play this now, you will notice, okay, here we have the line animation and the boats are also moving, the clouds are also moving. Everything is perfect now. And of course, in the rectangle, you can go over to spline and select these keyframes, hit S on the keyboard, and you can get this sort of an effect. Again, up to you, but I'm just going with the S, the ease in, that's it. So here we have the basic animation done. But now if you come back to the output that we have right here, you will just notice that these boats are moving, this line is moving, but what about the map? Well, now we need to add in the camera. So from here, you can just drag in this camera 3D, connect this with the merge, and now we're gonna use this camera right here. So here you can see, now everything is visible. So for this one, you can go over to the transform and you can use this X and then Y to move this up, X to move this down, Y to move this up. X to move this down in a sense that it will show you that map from the top view, basically. And this is how it looks right now. So this is the scene right now. And I'm going to just drag this in right here, somewhere around here. So let's go ahead, create a keyframe at 0 for all of these. Let's just do for all of these, just in case nothing is missed. So this is, I'm only doing all of these so in case I don't mess this up. So sometimes it happens that we forget to add keyframes when we're doing these 3D rotations and then the whole scene messes up. We don't want that now. So right here at 0, we have this keyframe done. And now let's go over at 50. Zoom this in. So we're going to zoom this in by using the Z and the X as well. And of course the Y as well. So something like this. Alright, so something like this, where we're going to zoom in on the scene, and then right here from 50 to let's say 70, let's just go a little bit in, a little bit further, something like this. And then from 70 to let's say 100, we're going to add a movement, a rotation movement. So let's go ahead and make sure that all these keyframes are now selected. So this is what I was talking about. Just make sure all these keyframes are selected at 70, just so that nothing is messed up. That's the only reason why we're doing this. Otherwise, it doesn't make sense to create so many keyframes. But just in case we don't mess anything up, that's the only reason why I'm emphasizing this. And now let's go over to 100. And what we can do is we can use this Y to rotate, but we also need to move the position of the camera itself. So let's just move this Z right here. So you can see the camera is here now, and we can just use this Y to move this right here. That's it. So if you play this now, but this is not looking very good. And for this, in order to fix this, for this you can just click on use target, and from here, first of all, let me just unselect all of these. So this is something that we were supposed to do. Again, when it comes to 3D movement, it's always kind of tricky. I was hoping that I would not mess up, but as you can see, this is exactly what happened. So we need to make sure that right here, we have this pivot set right here. So at this scene, as you can see, this is the target that we're talking about. And just make sure that this is right there at the center. So our camera keeps pointing at that point. And now at the X right here, we can just move this up at this position. Now we can create a keyframe at 0, which is, by the way, already created. Now let's go all the way to 50. Do the same thing we did before. Zoom this in and use the Y. So now you will see that this is a better way of doing it. Now this is moving according to that pivot point, that target point. So here you can see, looks awesome. And from here, from 70, we can just zoom this even further. Move this right here. And move this. And by the way, this X, you will notice that no keyframe has been selected. So at 50, no keyframe. This is what I was talking about. Make sure to create a keyframe where this is just static. Make sure the keyframe is added at X as well, because now we're at 70. We're going to move this as well. Something like this. And now from 70 to 100, we're going to spin it. So let's go ahead and move this, the Z right here. So make sure all these keyframes are selected just in case. And then at 100, let's go all the way in, and that's it. Okay, so while we have this done, let's go all the way to, let's say, 150. And we can just slightly move this up. And then from 150 to 80, make sure at 150 we have all these keyframes selected. Not this one, but these ones. And then at 170, let's rotate this from X, and let's zoom in. So let's zoom this in somewhere around here. And then at 200, let's put this back right here. All right, and then finally at the end, we can just slightly move this to something like this. Anyways, I think this is it. Perfect. All right, so let's now go over to spline, and now let's select our camera 3D, and everything that you see right here, just select this and hit S on the keyboard. And now let's see how this looks. Awesome. So this is it. Let's now go back to the main timeline. And from here, all you need to do is just add in this solid color, which is, by the way, you can just pick the screen color from this one right here. Just same thing as the map that we have basically. And now of course you can just switch it back to full so that now you can see how your scene looks like. So this is it for this video. And if you want to get the project files for this video that I did, this tutorial that I did, you can go over to my Patreon and download it from there. So I hope you found this video useful, and I will see you in the next one.